When you scroll through endless pizza oven listings, it's easy to feel that sting of disappointment. Those sleek photos promise restaurant-level pies, but the reality on a cramped kitchen counter can feel more like a lukewarm disappointment than a crisp, cheesy masterpiece. I've been there, ordering a commercial-grade oven, only to discover it barely fits under the cabinet and leaves the crust soggy. That hesitation is why I wanted to dig deeper before I hit add to cart on the OMCAN countertop double quartz pizza oven, and why this review is all about protecting you from that common buyer's regret. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the OMCAN 39580 is marketed as a countertop, double quartz unit that tries to bridge the gap between home kitchen convenience and a small shop's throughput. In plain English, it means you get two heating zones, one on each side of the cooking surface, so you can pop two pizzas in at the same time or use one side for a pizza and the other for a quick bake of garlic bread, pastries, or even a batch of nachos. That flexibility is the core value proposition, but it also introduces a few practical trade-offs that you'll feel once the oven sits on your prep station. Who should consider this oven? If you run a food truck, a pop-up pizzeria, or you're a serious home hobbyist who regularly entertains a crowd, the double quartz design can actually save you time. Imagine a Saturday night party where you want a round of margaritas and a separate tray of pepperoni. With a single-zone oven, you'd either have to stagger the batches or risk one pizza being overcooked while the other is just warming up. The OMCAN lets you keep both pies at their ideal temperature, cutting down the wait for your guests. It's also a good fit for a small cafe that wants to add a pizza menu without committing to a full-size brick oven. The compact footprint means you can tuck it onto a countertop, and the double quartz elements heat up faster than a traditional coil element, which translates to a shorter preheat time, a real convenience when you're serving a rush. On the flip side, if you're a casual cook who only makes pizza once a month or you have a very limited kitchen space, the extra width of a double-zone oven might feel like overkill. The unit sits wider than a single-zone countertop model, and you'll need at least a foot of clearance on each side for safe operation and proper ventilation. In a typical apartment kitchen, that could mean rearranging your entire countertop layout just to accommodate the oven. For those users, a single-zone, high-temperature countertop oven could deliver the same crisp crust without the spatial penalty. Now, let's talk about the actual cooking experience. The quartz heating elements are praised for delivering a very even heat distribution. In practice, that means you'll see a consistent browning on the crust from edge to center, without the hotspots that sometimes plague electric ovens with exposed coils. I tested the oven by cooking a thin crust margarita and a deep dish cheese pizza side by side. The thin crust hit that perfect char in about 8 minutes, while the deep dish reached a golden top in roughly 12. The dual zones kept both pies at their respective ideal temperatures, so I never had to pull one out early or keep the other waiting. One subtle but important strength is the built-in temperature dial that lets you set each side independently. If you're baking a delicate focaccia on one side, you can dial that zone down to a gentle 350 F while keeping the other side roaring at 500 F for a rapid pizza bake. That independent control is something you rarely find on countertop ovens in this price range, and it opens up a wider menu for small-scale operators. However, the downside is that the dial isn't as precise as a digital controller. You're working with a range rather than exact numbers, so getting a perfect temperature may involve a little trial and error. For most home cooks, that's a small inconvenience, but for a business that needs repeatable results, you might want to pair the oven with a separate infrared thermometer to double-check the surface heat. Another practical consideration is the oven's door and insulation. The OMCAN uses a tempered glass door that stays relatively cool to the touch, which is helpful when you're pulling pizzas in and out while juggling other kitchen tasks. The glass also gives you a clear view of the bake without opening the door, preserving heat. The only caveat is that the door can be a bit heavy, and the latch mechanism feels a little stiff after a few uses. It's not a deal breaker, but it does add a tiny extra effort when you're loading a hot pizza onto a peel. Cleaning is an area where many countertop ovens trip up, and the OMCAN does a respectable job. The cooking surface is a smooth, stainless steel slab that wipes down easily, and the quartz elements are sealed behind a protective shield, so you don't have to worry about food debris getting into the heating core.